Series of Tillian's Outcast, bringing you great content of all people that don't really fit well into society. Today, we have somebody really different, Mr. Greg Fitzpatrick, who is a Hollywood stuntman. What's up, Greg?
How's it going, John? Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming on and doing this. I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure, man.
So the first question is, that everybody wants to know is, people kind of understand what it goes into being an actor. Maybe you go to acting school and maybe you get some Broadway or off Broadway stuff and you break into, you know, Hollywood or whatever the case may be. But how does somebody go about becoming a stuntman? What doors do you have to knock on to actually you do that as a career?
Well, it's similar to acting. I came out to California from New York to be an actor, and I studied acting. I did a lot of theater. I did all that stuff, and I had an agent. I was going on auditions, and people do that for stunts. They come out to California, or when it used to be mostly in California, but you can go to different places. You can go to Atlanta. You can stay in New York because they have a thriving community in New York and other places, and they just want to be stunt people. And whereas an actor, you have to get an agent and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
Stunts isn't really like that. Stunts is just coming out and meeting people. It's networking. And the way you get jobs is you get a stunt coordinator to hire you. And back when I started, we would just drive around and find movie sets. We like our buddies would be working on something and we'd find the movie set and we'd walk up to the stunt coordinator, introduce ourselves, tell them about our skills, show them our like stunt reel of putting certain physical things together, telling the stunt coordinator about our background. I'm a martial artist, I'm a gymnast, blah, blah, blah. And if he chooses to hire you, he will. And that's called hustling.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
you hustle your ass off until you can
Right.
get a job, right? And if you're the same size as a guy, as an actor they have, they can hire you as a double way before they'll hire you as a nondescript stunt person in like a crowd or just a building's blowing up and you're running away. They just hire their buddies for that. But
Okay.
so but if you're a good match for something, you'll get in. And it's really just hustling. It's meeting people, networking, hustling, practicing your skills and, getting all geared up. So when they do hire you, you're ready for the job.
So is it so it sounds like you went out there to be an actor and you were like I need money and okay. All right. I could do this. I'm not getting any acting gigs, but I could definitely jump off tall buildings onto boxes and stuff.
Well, the way it started for me is, I was acting, I was going on auditions, I was doing theater, I was doing tons of theater. I studied extensively. I studied the classics and I studied the method, and I was constantly doing theater. I wrote theater, but I still needed a day job because I wasn't making wasn't making money.
Yeah.
And I did everything. I bartended, I did landscaping, construction, everything. And then I saw an ad in the paper for the Wild West Stunt Show at Universal Studios in Hollywood.
Okay.
And they had different characters, and one of them was my size, and it said athletic stunt experience not necessary, but apply.
Yeah. Willing to die.
I would audition for anything, right? So I just
And how
said
old were you at the time when this was happening?
quite young,
Okay. All
quite
right.
young,
All right.
to my 20s.
Okay.
And they said so I said if I can get up in the morning I'll go on the audition. So I went on the audition and it was half acting because it's an acting and stunt show.
Hmm.
And they put us through all these paces of doing different physical things, and then they would cut people after one physical test, and then they would we do another physical test, they'd cut people. And the last physical test was hitting a mini tramp and doing what's called a face off. I don't know if you see me falling,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah. I
picture.
can see that. Yeah.
That's me doing a high fall, and that's called a header when you go head first and land on your back. But what they wanted us to do was a face off where you hit the mini tramp, you go up as high as you can, and you just turn around and land on your back. And I had never done one. I'd never seen a mini tramp. I didn't know what a face off was, didn't know anything. And I was the third person in line. And they said, okay, go. But before we went, I asked the guy in front of me, I go, hey, bro, what do you do here? He goes, well, you just hit this thing and you land on your back. And I'm like, all right, so I'll try it. So I watched the two guys in front of me do it, and then I hit it and I nailed it.
Really?
And I nailed it. And what's funny is I've done like 1,000 high falls since, and I do them the
Okay.
exact same way I did it that day. Because I'm a really good mimic, being an actor, I
Yeah.
was able to mimic people. So I did it, and then we had the acting audition, and I got the job.
Wait, you know
Yeah.
what? Here's a good question because um you said that you used to take a lot of martial arts and whatnot, right?
Mhm.
Just like any young kid, I did too, right? Martial arts, baseball, boxing, all that crap, right? You just try everything when you're a kid. And I do remember they did teach you how to fall properly so you won't get hurt. Did that help any? Or you would,
Yes, yes, it did. But being an athlete helps because what you have to do when you fall in like a stunt scenario is you've got to make it look like a wreck and still not get hurt, right? So
okay.
but you can't and you've got to make it look as authentic as possible. Like a lot of stunt guys, some of them think, you just go bigger and that's better. It's not always that.
Uh,
It's you have to be accurate. It depends on how you're getting shot, getting thrown, getting slammed. You got to make it look like a wreck and come out okay. Now, the truth is, when most of the time when you make it look like a wreck, you're going to get dinged, and that's just the nature of the business. You get dinged in this job.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say we'll get to injuries in a little bit, but what I
How
wanted
much
to know,
time do you have?
what happened?
How much time do you have?
Yeah, I figured that. Yeah, I could only imagine. Um,
Well,
the other thing I want to ask you is, like, is that the only way to break into becoming a stuntman, or are there actual schools and
it's funny you bring that
trainers
up.
and whatnot?
It's funny you bring that up. The guy who was in front of me, who I asked, "Hey, bro, how do you hit this mini tramp on that audition?" He's got a stunt school and he's still my friend and he's
Oh,
a great
really?
guy. Yes, he's a great guy. His name is Bonsai Vitale and his stunt school is the Stunt Performers Academy. So if anybody wants to be a stuntman, you come out to California, you go to Bonsai School and he's awesome. He'll teach you how to be a stuntman and that's really good training
Okay.
because he'll take you through high falls, he'll take you through wire work, he'll take you through fights, he'll take you through all these different scenarios. And but back in the day, there were some stunt schools, not all. I don't really know too much about them because I didn't know anybody who went to them. But Bonsai Vitale School, the Stunt Performers Academy, is a really good place to start for a young person. Plus, you network, you
Right.
meet.
Now, is that a stunt school something new, or this is or did they have it when you broke into the business?
They did have some, not that I knew of in Los Angeles. There were some up Northern California. I do know some people before my time went to them. But what you do is like now there are certain gyms where everybody goes to train, and that's a good place to network and train. And when I started, you just met people and you trained on stuff. Like there's a thing called an air ram that they used to use all the time, and it's like whenever you see an explosion in a movie and a guy goes flying, he steps on this thing called an air ram, which it's calibrated to as soon as you touch it with your foot, you go flying through the air.
Really?
But that's a skill because that thing can bite you. You can break your leg on that thing. So, I knew guys who had air rams. I trained with those. I trained high falls. I trained fights. I trained all those things. And there was a circus guy. He recently died. He's a stunt legend named Bob Yurkis, and he had a compound with trampolines, with high fall towers, with airbags, and everyone, and a lot of circus stuff. He was a big circus guy, and people used to go train there, and he let you train for free.
Wow,
So,
really?
yeah, yeah, and that's the way that's the way it is a lot. You have people and you train in that capacity. It's a little different now because everything is on the internet now. It's a little less personal. So a school like my friend Bonsai School um, is a good alternative because he's got all that equipment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, everybody's going to want to know what movies you've been a stuntman in. So, what movies have you been in?
Well, I've stunt doubled Ben Stiller for like 22, 3 years,
Wait
and
a minute. Ben Stiller needs a stunt double? He's a comic.
hey boy, you should see all the stunts in comedies. There's tons of stunts in comedies.
Really?
People don't associate that, but I actually won a World Stunt Award for doubling Ben on a movie. Um,
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And and there's a lot of action associated with comedy. Like when he and I did the Secret Life of Walter Mitty, that was tons of stunt stuff, tons.
Hmm.
I was in a harness for like 90 days and I would work every day and have one day off and even in the Night at the Museum movies, I did all those. There's lots of stunts in those and Tropic
Ah, okay.
Thunder. And I doubled Robert Downey for a bit.
Really?
I did Iron Man 1, a little bit of Iron Man 2, and that was an action heavy film. But there's two things people don't associate with stunts is like horror movies and comedies, but there's
Yeah.
tons of good comedies. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You've also stunt doubled for Frank Grillo. Is that accurate?
Right, Frankie, my boy. Frank's a great guy. I've known Frank most of my life, and when Frank got to be a very popular and talented actor, he requested me as a stunt double, and I've been with him ever since. And he's a great guy, and he's an athlete himself. The
Yeah.
guy the guy's a specimen.
Yeah, the guy's a fighter.
Oh,
Absolutely.
he's a great fighter, great
There's a
boxer.
great documentary he did about fighting too.
Fight
And
World.
that it
It's
was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
awesome, awesome. It was on Netflix. It was great. I wish I was with him on that, man. He traveled all over the world.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. But so okay, sorry about that. I had to look up a question that I wanted to ask you. It was in the back of my head.
Yeah.
Um, as a stuntman, what let's say you're like somebody like yourself, and you don't have to give me, you can give me roundabout numbers. What does somebody like yourself who's in major Hollywood motion pictures, what kind of salary do you guys make? And
It,
is it like contracts, or is it just paid for the day kind of deal, or how does that work?
Well, it really depends on what you're doing. If you go in just to do a stunt on a TV show, one day, you get your Screen Actors Guild daily rate, which
Okay.
is good, which is good. The Screen Actors Guild really helped us out, we're a union, we're union people, and the union takes care of us, and there are certain rules. And the way it is in stunts is when you do a stunt, you get extra money. It's called a stunt adjustment. And depending on the severity of the stunt, you get more money. So it's a good living if you can work. If you can work, it's a good living. Yeah.
All right. You know what's funny is as you're telling me this, I was
Uh-huh.
thinking all week about questions about stunts. And as you're telling me this, other things are coming into mind that I never realized. Like, let's say somebody like yourself wants to take out life insurance. Can you? And are you going to pay out of the ass because you got to take out life insurance?
You know what? That never crossed my mind
I guess you
because
don't have life insurance.
I don't have any life insurance. Man, listen, maybe I will one day, but
But I
that's
can
not.
only imagine the person, the adjuster, being like, "Ooh,
Yeah, yeah. Just tell me you do what? Through what? Through
yeah,
fire? What through what? You crash what?
yeah,
I
yeah."
know, I know, I know, I know, I know. Yeah.
So
You're
you
gonna
never
have to ask
even,
somebody else about it.
or even health coverage.
Luckily, the union.
Oh,
You know,
good, good, good,
but
good.
you have to make a certain amount of money each year to keep
Ah,
the health
okay,
coverage, and the health coverage is really good. But
okay.
as I say, you have to keep working to get it.
Right, right, right.
You have
Now,
to
so
make.
what again, you can give me roundabout numbers. You don't have to give me exact numbers, what you made, last year or whatever. But is somebody in your at your top level, what kind of money, annually would somebody like you make?
It's if you're lucky enough to work at a certain level, you can make good dough. You can make
Seven figures, six figures?
uh oh, you can easily make six figures.
Okay.
Seven figures as a rank and file stunt person, just hitting the ground, what they call a ground pounding stunt person, like myself. You're probably not going to make seven figures.
Okay.
But if you're a big stunt coordinator and you get a certain rate, you can ask for more money
Right.
by negotiating your contract. Or if you're a big second unit director with a lot of stunt coordinators that are also second unit directors, they direct the action units. You can negotiate a higher rate.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there
So
there are
you go ahead, I'm
there are
sorry.
a few people who make seven figures. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So now like you said, a lot of times, that there can be a daily rate if you just go in to do a stunt for the day. But like when you were on doing the movie with Robert Downey Jr., uh, is that a contract? Are you guaranteed all the stunts in that movie, or do they use you as they need you? Are there
It
other
depends.
contracts like the actors themselves?
It depends. Like when I double Ben, if Ben's on a movie for 3 months, I'm on the movie for 3 months, and I'm
Okay.
guaranteed that. And or Frank's on a movie for 3 months, I'm guaranteed that. But if there's only like a week of stunts in a 3 month movie, you're probably not going to be on contract for the entire 3 months.
So,
Like I've doubled Ben on a couple things where he only worked a week and I'll work a week.
okay,
That's
okay.
it, right? So
It sounds like they use you when they need you, but
the
is there a limited number of guys like yourself where it's like, okay, there's 10 of us, somebody's getting to work, or is there like an abundance where they could like literally negotiate your pay down?
well, there's a minimum that they can't
Okay.
go beneath, but
Okay.
if I'm requested by a certain actor, I negotiate a higher rate, and I have done that
Oh,
quite
that's good.
frequently.
Yeah.
I negotiate a higher rate. But like on Iron Man 1, I doubled Tony Stark, but I wasn't in the suit because they had guys who were over 6 feet, and I'm not. So
Uh,
they had guys in the suit doing that. So there's several of us, and there are times when uh, if somebody's an expert horseman and I'm not an expert horseman and Ben's got to do a horse gag, they'll bring in a professional horseman to do it, or something like that. Something like that, where there's a niche skill, they'll bring in an expert for that. So that does happen, and sometimes there are several doubles, but there's always a main double
I see. I see. Okay.
because along with being doing the stunts, a lot of times you have to do a certain level of photo doubling because you have the actors' mannerisms down, you have their movements down,
Mm,
So if the actor's busy on another unit, you fill in for certain movements that they do because you have their moves down so it's seamless, and that's what I do as a stunt double. Like I studied Frank, I studied Ben, I studied Robert Downey, I studied another friend of mine, Tom Lennon, another brilliant actor who I work with. And you have to study their moves in order so that the audience does not know it's not them. You can't call attention to yourself in
I
a
got it. Right.
ostentatious way.
Yeah.
So, like, when Ben and I did Secret Life of Walter Mitty, we were in New York City and then we were in Iceland, and we had so much going on. And Ben would be on first unit, and I'd be on second unit um, with the second unit director because Ben also directed that movie. So he was directing and acting in it. And they had all these other shots of me, climbing mountains in Iceland, running on roads, bicycling all over the place. Ben and I bicycled all over Iceland and ran all over Iceland. So I'm on second unit doing all that as well as the stunt stuff, the concussive stunt stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
How do you,
it's a multifaceted job, and not only does it serve you to be more in tune with how the actor moves and his sensibilities, it serves the production as well because they have two people going off and making the movie in a shorter amount of time.
okay. I see what you're saying. It's things that you never think of as just somebody who watches a movie or watches a
Sure.
show or so on and so forth. The
Mhm.
the you guys probably don't get enough credit, right? Because Robert Downey Jr. gets all the credit in the world of being Iron Man, right? And you guys probably don't get enough credit. And you're like, wait a minute, that's me who almost broke my neck jumping out
Right.
of that fire building.
It's an interesting question because we actually just got approved to have an Academy Award for stunt coordinators. Yeah,
Really?
it just came down the pike. They've been fighting for it for a long time because for the Academy Awards, every department head, the hair department, the makeup department, the special effects department, the a costume department, they all get Academy Awards,
Right.
but we don't. So it was, and that comes from the ethic that from way back that we don't want the audience to know about stunts. We want them
Okay.
to think it's the actor, right? So we just got recognized in that, which is a wonderful thing. A lot of guys fought very hard for a long time to give us that recognition. Having said that, is when I go in to double somebody, I know the deal. The deal is I'm the stuntman. I'm in the background. I'm the guy who wants to do my best to do a really good job on the stunt, but also make it so seamless that you think I'm not there.
Right.
And that's the job, man. And if you don't like it, don't be a stunt man.
Right.
That's it
Right.
goes.
Right.
And we have our own World Stunt Awards, as well for like individual performances. And as I said, I'm also an actor. And when I act, I'm in front of the camera. Great, give me all the attention you want. But when I'm a stunt man, and especially a stunt double, where I'm taking care of another actor and the film, I'm fine in my role. That's my role. I take it seriously.
Wow. So tell me about some of the actual stunts that you did, and you probably have language that is only familiar to stunt people. So try to like put it in layman's terms. You know,
Okay, well, the first stunt award I won was for best high work, and that is a category in the World Stunt Awards. And I jumped from a 100-foot building across an alley to a 70-foot building. And was a little dicey at the time.
that's borderline insanity.
Well, if you see what some of the parkour guys do now, on YouTube, you're
Yeah.
like,
Well, okay.
you know what I mean? Uh,
But
but
do you have a harness on or anything? Is there any
no, no, no.
safety
I,
equipment?
I, I just jumped. And but the thing is, I had done a lot of high falls up to that point, so I was fine in the air. I was fine. If you can jump from 100, from 10 feet, you can jump from 100 feet, right? So the only thing that scared me was that if you trip, you get really screwed up.
Yeah, it's over.
So, when I did that, I was on this building and there was a lip on the building. So they built up a platform to make it even with the lip. And it was just 2.5 feet wide and 12 feet long. And I went out to a track and I practiced that perspective of running and taking off because I knew if I planted my foot, if I got my foot planted correctly, I'd be fine because I'm fine in the air. And I went and practiced it and I said, "Okay, man, here we go. Let's do this." And as soon as I felt good purchase on my foot, my takeoff foot, I knew I'd be fine. I knew I'd be okay.
No, what the landing part is there? Do they have cushioning or any?
Yes,
How does that
yeah,
work?
they do. On the other building, they had pads,
Okay.
and this was a little different than a regular high fall because regular high fall you land on your back, but they wanted me to stay vertical as if I landed on my feet because we had to marry it to Ben landing, rolling, getting up and running because he was
Uh
chasing the guy. So I remember when we rehearsed that, the stunt coordinator was kind of reticent to tell me, "Hey, you got to land on your feet because it's dicey. Going into pads on your feet from 30 feet, you can blow your knee out and all that stuff." So when we were practicing, just a little high fall off just some building, they weren't telling me, "Hey, you got to land on your feet." And then it occurred to me after I was doing it like 5 times, I'm like, "Wait a minute, these guys want me to land on my feet." So then I just jumped, landed on my feet, and the stunt coordinator gets on the phone and says to the director, "We got it." So I just knew I had to go hit feet first and stay vertical the whole way down, and I did, and I was okay. I
that's amazing. Before I get into how you overcome fear, was that the craziest stunt that you did, or what was some other?
Up till that time, yeah, it was the craziest stunt. However, there are other things that I would do that 10 times before I want to get hit by a car again. You know what I mean? I've done car hits and they're horrible. They suck.
I
Uh,
you get hit by a Buick.
right. There's a skill to it. There's an art to it. Depending on the car, you have to look at the parameters of the car, the vehicle, and the speed and everything. But a very famous stuntman, Corey Eubanks, he's a legend. And he does a lot of car stuff, car rolling stuff. And I asked him, I said, "Would you rather do a cannon roll in a car or a car hit?" He goes, "I'd rather do 50 cannon rolls in a car than do a car hit because, you know, it's going to bite you somehow. Very rarely do you do a car hit and not come out with some type of bruising or something. Like I did a car hit once uh, and the art of doing a car hit is to make it look like the car hit you, but try not to like really make it look like it hit you. Like if your feet are on the ground when the car's coming and you don't get airborne a little bit, you're gonna break your legs. You're gonna destroy your body. So I did this one car hit and I got airborne, but I tried to make it look really subtle, like I didn't wasn't jumping. And the car hit me in the leg, and I got spit off, and I thought my leg was broken.
Oh,
And what happens a lot in films is they go, "You got to do it again."
oh,
And I'm like, "Okay, man, let's do it again." And my leg swelled up really bad. I didn't tell anybody. I just sucked it up. It's amazing how you can cover like tremendous pain
right.
when the 100 people are staring at you. So I did it again. And I got spit off the car again, and they got the shot, and then I went to the hospital.
Wow. It's just unbelievable. You guys definitely don't get enough credit. My God. Um, Now, unless you're a sociopath, there's got to be fear that you have to overcome. And
Tremendous fear.
how do you overcome that? Because like a normal person like myself, okay, if I see like even if this happened to me while I'm at work, okay, and if they ask me to do something and I think it's a little bit too dangerous, I go, I ain't doing that. Right? I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, so for example, they wanted there's a cylinder, a huge cylinder that stores sludge outside the building where I work, outside the plant. And there's a spiral staircase to go all the way up to the top, and it overlooks the West Side Highway in New York City. And they needed me to get debris off the top, and I tried like twice or three times, and I came back down and I told my supervisors like I'm not doing it. You find somebody else. I don't know what to tell you. Give me another job. I'm not doing it. How do you get to the point where you just go, I'm doing this. And not only am I doing this, you have to be calculated. So not only do you have to overcome this emotion, you have to overcome this emotion and you have to be calculated so you try to your best not to hurt yourself.
Well, it's I'm afraid every time I do a stunt, every time. And when I did that one stunt I told you, where I jumped from one building to another, I was up on the and I've told this story before. I mean, I was up on this building, and they said rolling, and as soon as they said rolling, tremendous fear went through my whole body, where it was like, I can't do this. I'm the wrong guy. I lied on the my application. I cannot fly this plane. I'm not a pilot, right? And then they said rolling, and three, two, one. As soon as they said action, I took off like a shot.
Mhm.
So but in that was in like 4 seconds that I felt tremendous fear. I wanted to be at home with the covers over my head
Right.
to just going and jumping. And you know, fear is a dicey thing, man. It's, do you want the thing you're afraid of more than you want to live in that fear?
Hmm.
Because if you're afraid and you let it master you and destroy you, you will never get anything in life. And it's not like I'm used to the fear. I'm not. But I'm experienced enough to know that I can do things. So yeah,
Does
it's
that lead to overcoming the fear in your occupation? Does that lead to you being able to take calculated risks in other areas of life? Like, let's
it's
say, somebody wants to, a tremendous investment or, whatever the case may be. And you're like, I have the money, but, that kind of thing, right? Because reaps the reward, right?
That's a very interesting question, because I'm faced with something like that right now.
Ah, okay.
Um, I created a show, and I shot a bunch of shorts for it, and it started out as a TV show. I wrote 10 episodes of it, and then I wrote the screenplay. And I got close on the TV show. I pitched it to Netflix, HBO, Showtime, everybody. Um, but now I'm in the process of gearing up to try to do my film, and you have to raise money, and it's a big deal to get a film made.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of fear that goes along with that. So I would equate that level of fear with the level of fear I had jumping off that building. But the truth is, I'm still going to do it.
Yeah. Right. You
Still
can't let
going
it
to do
stop.
it.
I mean, because, like I said, unless you have no emotion, unless you're a sociopath, you need fear to have courage. Because what's courage without fear? You're emotionless at that point.
Yeah,
Courage is facing something that you're deathly afraid of, but doing it anyway. That's courage, and that's what your job and your occupation demands of you. And
true.
uh, that is something that is extremely admirable. And I think only like I think men get it more than women because men have to kind of face that fear in life in order uh to progress, right?
You
I mean,
know, I
I don't want to sound, but there are differences in Nate. But what I'm saying is, I think men relate and can uh, admire that more so because every guy sooner or later has to come to the crossroads, unless he stays in the house with his covers over his head, and he's going to have to make a decision, and it could be scary. And if you, a lot of times, if you don't make that decision where you have to face fear, you'll never progress.
it's very interesting. I mean, there's lots of stunt women who do everything I do. You know,
Right.
they're
Okay.
badass. They face the same trials I face, 100%.
Right.
In my business, there's no difference between men and women.
Okay.
Women have to go through it. However, in life, it's a little different. I remember having a discussion with a girl I dated once, and I said, when you're a guy and you walk the streets, you're going to encounter other men all the time. And men uh, always size each other up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know this. It's not going to be new.
Absolutely, it's
When
human
you're
nature.
walking the streets, you're this close to a fight every day,
Yeah.
almost every day.
That's
You
right.
know? And I told her that. She goes, "No, that's not true. You're crazy." I go, "I
Okay.
am crazy, but yes, it is true."
It's
I'm walking to the
100%
gym.
true.
I walk in the gym. You know, there's a great line I heard someone say. Uh, Gee, I forget his name, but he was a pro fighter. He said, Jerry Trimble, great pro fighter. He said once um, that always walk like you just got the best news of your life. So I always try to walk like I got the best news of my life. And that's chest up, shoulders back, happy, smiling. When you walk with your chest up and shoulders back, you're going to encounter pushback from other men.
Right.
You are. And every guy knows that.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
you
I
walk
think
like this to avoid attention, you'll avoid attention, but you'll live like this. I'd rather live like this and
right.
deal with.
Yeah, they actually did a study and they had prisoners, criminals, and they showed them people. I think it was video footage, uh, people that they would most likely target if they were gonna, rob them or steal or so on and so forth. And the two that they picked mostly were either people that were looked like they were in a strange surrounding, like kind of like confused,
Right.
and the other one was somebody that looked like they were very scared.
Yeah.
And they said that those are the large majority of the prisoners picked those two personality types that were going to be used as targets in order to get because they want the
They
quick
want it,
win.
they want it easy. Predators are cowards. And,
Yeah.
just like in the animal kingdom, they go after the weak and the lame.
Right. Right.
However, I mean, I'm not a big guy, I'm not over 6 feet or anything. And when you're not and you walk with purpose, with your chest up, you're going to encounter other people who want to.
Yeah. No, it's 100% true. And I know
I'd
it's a
rather live like that though, any day of the week.
absolutely. There's a stupid movie, and I did not understand it with a great line in it. Obviously, everybody saw the Karate Kid, and right. And then we'll get back to your stunts. I apologize for veering off, but sometimes the conversation just gets good.
Sure.
There's a great movie, Karate Kid, stupid movie, 80s action film, but everybody knows the Karate Kid. But there's one line that you don't, that every man understands. And it's when Mr. Miyagi says to Daniel LaRusso, why do you want to fight? And he said, because I want to be able to fight. I want to learn how to fight. And he goes, no, you want to learn how to fight so you don't have to fight.
Absolutely.
And you don't you don't realize that until you you actually get there. When everybody knows, oh, okay, this guy's going to be able to defend himself and handle himself. The large majority of the time, people are going to leave you alone.
Yeah,
But
that's 100% true.
yeah,
Every kid should learn how to fight.
I believe so. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I fully agree because it's not
Because
even just
it's a rough world out there, man.
it
It's rough.
is, and it teaches you discipline as well. You know, it really does. It teaches you great discipline as well. So let's get back to you and your stunts. Injuries. Give me a list of injuries from least to worst, and
Least is bruises, cuts, and stuff. Like every joint in my body hurts, you know. Uh, elbows, wrists, knees, ankles, neck, everything. Um, I broke my foot a couple of years ago on a motorcycle. Broke it really bad. I broke cartilage off in both sides of my ribs. I fell once about 18 feet, landed on my back, and I cracked ribs. I tore my kidney, I tore my lung, and I bruised my heart, and I tore the popped the pericardium, which is the sac of fluid around the heart. And so I was pissing blood, I
oh,
was spitting up blood, and I had blood around my heart. And I developed an arrhythmia from that, which I still have today, but it's fine. I mean, I did triathlons and stuff, so I'm totally fine. But that was one of the worst because when I did it initially, um, my heart was fluttering like crazy, and I didn't know what it was. And I went to a very famous arrhythmia guy, and he said, "Don't leave your house; you could drop dead."
Jesus.
And and I had all these skipped beats uh, throughout the day. My heart would just stop and then start, and just stop and then start, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna die. But then after a month, it settled down and it became a benign arrhythmia. And I still feel it once in a while. It doesn't bother me at all, hasn't stopped me. But I remember going to see this doctor after a month and he told me I was okay. And I had a list of questions for him because I was like, okay, I was gonna die and now I'm not. And I had all these questions for him and he answered every single one. And then I said, okay, I got one more question. Threw the paper away. I go, if I were your son, what would you tell me to do? And he said, I tell you to get the hell out of my office. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm fine. I'm not going to think about it. And yeah, there you go. So
What stunt was it that you got that hurt on?
this was, believe it or not, it was at the Wild West Stunt Show.
Oh, that far back. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So it was like when you were still learning.
No, no, I knew that show backwards and forwards. It's
Oh,
just shit happens, you know. People have gotten hurt there really bad. People, one of my buddies was working that show. He broke his neck from a 2 foot fall.
really?
Yeah, and it can happen, and it does happen. It happens, man. It's no joke. The moment you take something for granted, you can get bit by anything in this business. Anything. It's not the big gags that can get you. It's the smaller ones because we are doing stunts no matter what. And if you're doing a 2 foot fall, things can happen. You have to be super diligent. And even if you're super diligent, bad things can happen. It's no joke, man. And there are some tragic stories in the stunt business. I mean, I know several at least of
Can you give us one?
horrible, horrible things. Sorry?
Can you give us one?
Sure. I
You don't
mean,
have to name names or anything like that.
yeah, I won't do that. There was a guy who was practicing a fall for a film. It was a rehearsal on the film, scheduled rehearsal, just falling over a railing, landing on his back on a pad. And I don't know the complete details of what happened. I don't really know if anybody knows, but he came over the railing and missed the pad.
Wow.
And he lost his life. And it's a very famous story now. And he's not alone. There are others. And this was an extremely talented kid. Just things happen. Things happen. As my friend Corey Eubanks said about the car hit, he said, I've seen the best gymnasts in the world come off cars and land on their head. And of course, gymnasts have the best air awareness and body awareness there is, but things happen, and you go to work one day, you say, "Oh, it's an easy gag. It's not, rolling a car or something. It's just something simple, and it happens. It's no joke. Even the things we do every single day, just going over a railing, landing on a pad, 20 feet in the air, that's nothing, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
bad things can happen because concrete will get you.
Yeah.
And
Concrete doesn't give. Right.
or there could be an equipment malfunction. That happens. Equipment malfunctions.
And I can only imagine the lawsuits if the guy lived. My God.
Yeah.
um, I was actually going to uh, ask you, was that the worst you've ever seen with your
Uh,
own eyes, or is that somebody that you
no,
heard?
I didn't see that with my own eyes.
Okay.
But no, I mean, he lost his life, so
Wow. Did you ever
it,
see anything that extreme with your own eyes, or no?
I've seen things that shouldn't happen on jobs out of there's a lot of moving parts that go along with action, and it's hard to keep your eyes on every single thing that happens. People break their legs, they break their backs, they um, and worse and worse. You know, yeah, there's
So here's an interesting question.
stuff, man.
Yeah, I could only imagine, and I apologize for bringing you into that dark,
I, it, you
dark
know,
place.
it's all right. People need to understand and know that it's no joke, and bad
Yeah.
things do happen. It's the business of action. Bad things can happen and do on occasion.
So here's a question that I'm sure I don't know if anybody has ever asked you before, but probably a difficult one to answer. Hollywood doesn't have the greatest reputation of being the most stand-up industry, right? Have you seen terrible injuries happen, like you said, like you know, a malfunction that's not a problem from the stunt double, and then the production studio tries their hardest to throw him
Limited
under the bus,
liability.
get rid of him, or try to brush it under the rug, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You don't have did it ever happen to you? You don't have to name names or anything.
No, it hasn't happened to me.
All right, good, good.
No, there's things out there that everybody wants to limit their liability when a tragedy happens. I mean, if it happens on this on the subway in New York, something happens, there's going to be a lawsuit, and the city will defend themselves against something and say it's not their
Yeah,
fault. Everyone tries to limit their liability, and Hollywood is a movie. I mean, the movie business is a business,
right.
so and it's a big business, and everybody wants to fight for their own interests, etc., and pass the blame down to somebody else. It happens. Yeah,
Now,
it
at the
happens.
same time, have you ever seen the opposite? Was somebody higher up in the production studio or the Hollywood studio go out of their way to say, no, 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 we got to treat this guy right. Okay, he's been working with us for a while. He's badly injured. We got to compensate him right. His medical bills, so on and so forth.
Well, we do have insurance, but there have been tragedies where there have been settlements of someone who got badly hurt, but it's not enough money. That has happened. When I got hurt at Universal Studios, they were actually really good to me.
Good.
Uh, I knew one of the managers there, and I there were a number of lawsuits against Universal Studios for certain things, because lawsuits everywhere. Not, I don't want to single them out at
Right.
all.
Right. Right.
But everyone was telling me when I hurt myself, everyone's saying you got to sue. And I'm like, no, I don't want to sue. And they go, yeah, you have to sue. What happens if you have heart trouble later on in life or something later on in life? And I thought about it. And then I felt that they treated me well, and since my doctor told me to get the hell out of his office, I'm like, I'm not
Yeah,
I don't want to live in that state. But luckily, I'm okay.
good.
Um, some guys who've been hurt really bad, really bad, were not taken care of, and such is life.
Yeah, it's I can't relate because I'm not in a an industry that's very risky like that. But small story, my brother is a contractor. One of his guys got really hurt bad, and he kept paying his medical insurance, and he was in coma for 6 months. And he kept paying his medical insurance, kept paying his medical insurance, kept paying his medical insurance, and he wouldn't stop paying until the guy was okay, you know. And he had the opportunity because they're like, you don't have to pay his insurance anymore. You're not liable. And he's like, let's be human about this. Okay, guy's been with me for 10 years. I'm not. So I'd have to think there's probably the best of each. I'd have to, I would like to believe that there are people still out there like that. And obviously there have been to you in your incident.
Yeah, no, there are good people out there. There are
All
good
right,
people.
good, good. I have
Yeah,
two more questions, and then I'm going to let you go. This
yeah, sure.
next question is just basically myth, rumor, stuntman one. I think you probably got this question a million times, and it's just purely out of my curiosity. The story about Bruce Lee and Gene LaBelle.
Oh, that
How
that
many times have you heard that question?
well, a lot. Now,
Yeah,
I knew Gene. I mean, Gene.
really,
Oh yeah. Gene was a legend in our business and a wonderful guy. And Gene worked on the Green Hornet, where Bruce Lee was on it. Now, Bruce Lee was a brilliant martial artist, a little guy. Gene LaBelle was a beast.
yeah, yeah,
Gene LaBelle, and Gene LaBelle was in one of the first mixed martial arts fights ever.
really.
Oh yeah, it's on YouTube. You got to go see it.
Oh,
Where he
definitely.
fought a light heavyweight boxer, and they had these different rules where the boxer had to wear a judo gi top, and Gene wore a judo gi top, and they started out in the ring, and Gene choked choked him out.
Oh, of
Beat his
course.
ass. Um, Anybody who goes up against Gene LaBelle was going to lose. I
Yeah.
mean that.
Okay. So
That's
why don't you
that.
tell for people that don't know the story? Why don't you tell the
Well,
story?
I mean, it was made famous in Once
Once
Upon a
upon a
Time in Hollywood,
right.
and but that's not from my hearing. That's not how it went down. Gene
Okay.
just worked on the Green Hornet with him, and Bruce was loved martial arts and was a genius. He saw how great Gene was and wanted to train with him. So they never, fought each other to, I can kick your ass. I mean, Judo Gene was there, and Bruce saw his skills. As far as I can tell, Bruce saw his skills and respected them and wanted to train with Gene. It wasn't like I'm going to kick your ass. There's another story though with Gene LaBelle and Steven Seagal. I don't know if you
Okay.
heard that story.
No, I haven't heard that
Okay,
story.
that's a famous story. Now I wasn't there. There's many iterations of it, but apparently they were on set together, and Seagal was they got into a dispute on if Gene could choke him out or not, and apparently Gene choked him out on set.
Really?
And and I'm not going to recount the details because I don't know them,
Right.
line for line. But Gene was a beast
Yeah.
and a wonderful guy, but a beast.
Yeah, because the story, I mean, you know how rumors float and whatnot, but the story that everybody seems to tell is that Bruce Lee was on the set of Green Hornet and he was hurting the other actors and the stuntmen, and then they brought Gene LaBelle on to basically teach him a lesson.
Yeah,
That's
that
that. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's the story that people say.
yeah that I can't speak to. But if you
Mm.
go and watch the Green Hornet, you'll see Gene fighting Bruce in the show.
Yeah. And the Green Hornet only lasted what one season or 2 seasons?
I think two. I think
Yeah,
two.
it wasn't a long.
Gene was a wonderful guy, a brilliant martial artist, and would kick anybody's ass if
if need be.
yeah, if need be, anybody. But yeah, that story, I don't know the details of that. And from what I heard, it wasn't a it was Bruce recognizing the skill of Gene, and they were cool.
Okay, yeah, and then Gene actually taught him how grappling or something to that effect.
Yeah, grappling. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that's the yeah. Uh,
Gene was a boxer as well. I mean, he his stepfather owned the Olympic Auditorium downtown, and they had all boxing stuff. So Gene was a boxer, a judo guy, and a full mixed martial artist. Yeah, and a
okay,
grappler. It's not merely judo; it's grappling, like you see jujitsu today.
there has to be a love. It has to be a passion, but to master all those techniques of fighting, it's got to be a passion because there's no way, you. I could see you. Okay, I've done boxing for 3 years, and now I want to learn how to grapple, and I do grappling, and I want to learn how to do, some other form of martial arts. It has to be a passion in order to keep, and I'm sure that you have to keep your skills sharpened, right? It's not something like, oh, I did it 10 years ago, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah, for
know.
sure. Yeah.
So, last question: what are you working on now? What kind of projects are you working on now?
Well, I recently worked on a film called Crime 101, which is coming out, I think this summer. I think it's I think this summer, and where I doubled an actor, Barry Keoghan. He and that was a movie where they had several doubles because Barry, great guy, great actor, and he's actually a really good boxer
Really?
in real life. Yeah, he's a really good boxer in real life. And in that movie, Barry's on a motorcycle for the whole movie, most of the movie. So they had pro motorcycle guys do all the motorcycle stuff,
Hmm.
and I did some other stuff. And so I did that. And Frank Grillo's got some stuff coming up, so I'll be working with Frank. Yeah, but I'm also working on my show and getting my show made.
Ah, okay, great. What movies have you worked with Frank on?
Uh, a bunch. Frank had his show Kingdom. I don't know if you remember Kingdom.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
great show. I started doubling Frank on that a little bit, but Frank's a fighter, so he did all his fighting.
Oh, yeah.
And uh, we did a film called Boss Level. We did. I don't know if you saw Boss Level.
No,
Mel Gibson's in Boss Level. It's
I
really
know the
good.
movie. I have not seen it, but I know
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's a really good movie. So I worked with him on Boss Level. We did a movie called Werewolves, which was just out in theaters. Um, we did a film called Little Dixie, another movie. It was a great movie. A whole bunch. I've done
That
a whole
is
bunch.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Greg, thank you so much. It's been an honor, really, and a pleasure having you on. All the love and respect in the world to you. Continued success. That was one of the most interesting interviews I've ever had.
Oh, good, good, good. Thanks, John. No,
Um,
it's a blast, man. I really enjoyed it. It was really, really great that you had me on. I appreciate
I
it.
appreciate it. We'll definitely keep in touch, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again.
Yeah, you got it. Anytime, brother.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. Have a good night, man.
You too, John. Take care.
All right, later.